Pinckney West City Commission.
And would you please stand and join me in the salute? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. All right. Commissioner Tidwell regrets that he's unable to be here this evening as he is ill. The next thing we have on the agenda is to look at the order of the agenda. And I've had a request from a commissioner to pull 7C. Are there any other reordering that any commissioners would like to request?
It's just to pull it from the consent agenda and not to remove it from the...
Right. Separate consideration. Hearing none, we will take the agenda in the order in which it appears. Mr. Commission President, do we have citizen comment this evening?
I have received a grand total of 0 public comment cards at this time.
Then we shall skip that item on the agenda and move into the first item of business, and that is a petition that we have received from the residents of Castleberry Loop Street regarding street trees, and that is enclosed in our packet, and our mission this evening is just to accept this petition. Mr. Patterson.
Mayor, members of the session, we have a petition from citizens of Castleberry Loop that's signed by, I count 26, but I'm not counting one or two in there. And basically what they're asking is reimbursement for the cost. Thank you. They're asking for reimbursement of the cost of those who have had to replace the tree and the sidewalk. Again, what I have recommended this evening is that you receive the petition. I think this raises some fairly significant policy questions for you. You'll begin a discussion on street trees at your next work session. I think it's something, too, in regards to development standards all the way down to how we pay for those and enforce those that we'll want to take up and discuss at your retreat as well, because this is an issue that goes beyond just Castleberry Loop. It is a issue across the community as well, and there's a lot to talk about here.
Does anyone have any questions about this petition or the item? Commissioner Mabee?
Not about the particular petition, other than I'm a little surprised it took this long to get one, considering the last 18 months or so of issues we've had with the tree eruptions through sidewalks. So while I will not be directly participating in the debate, I think it's one we need to have because we want the city to look good, but we also want it to look good for 50 years, not the 5 or so that some people are having to deal with. So have fun with the debate, gentlemen and ladies.
Well, it'll be a sticky debate because, again, like you've mentioned, it's property rights. It's who pays. It's if incorrect street trees are placed by your recommendation from the city long ago, who do we share that cost? If we do share the cost, where does the pool of money come from? Who is responsible for sidewalks throughout the city? And again, what are the standards under which we want to move forward? So it really is a livability issue for us to talk about. And I believe it will probably be heated discussion and healthy debate on both sides of the question about who pays. Commissioner West.
Last week at the, is my mic on? Yeah. Last week at the luncheon with Lynn Peterson, we had a roundtable discussion with other city councilors, and there were some people there from Tualatin talking about this very issue, so I thought it was timely that it came up. And they have a, what did they call it, a door fee or some kind of a sidewalk fee for maintenance on this. So I think Lake Oswego does as well. So it'll be interesting to see how we will resolve this at a work session or through continued discussions.
Your question prompted another one. Do some cities' pavement maintenance fees or transportation maintenance fees cover sidewalk to sidewalk rather than curb to curb like ours does?
Off the top of my head, I don't know. I would assume that you will probably find some that do. We could look into that, but that is one method to do it, or the sidewalk fee, which would be a separate fee. I assume what they've done is a mechanism.
Okay.
Pretty common across the state and, well, across the nation is the responsibility of the budding property owner. You'll see that probably more than...
Right.
Well, and I would say that when it's because the tree's grown up over 50 years, really not, I don't know that there's that many people that object to it, but in this particular petition where it's less than a decade in some instances, then I think there does need to be, proper consideration. Whether, I mean, you can get into all sorts of stuff of, was the soil type different? Did they put Miracle-Gro in them instead of letting them grow normally? All those sort of things that the resident can influence. But
There's a host of issues, and what we're seeing, I would venture to guess that most areas where we're having these issues is probably in that 10 to 15 year range. It's not uncommon, I can tell you, in all the cities I've been at, all the different type trees, and you'll hear folks will tell you this tree does this, seem like all of them have sidewalk issues sooner or later. The other question I think that you'll have to wrestle with is sidewalk is another form of infrastructure. And if we're going to require that, how do we maintain it? Because it's easy to put them in, but over time, it's like anything else. It's going to take some type of funding somewhere. It can be the budding property owner. It can be the city through some mechanism. But those are some of the policy issues we'll have to debate.
So we need to search, you're trying to say that there is no perfect street tree?
I have not
I
ever
can't
found
believe
one.
that.
I've heard all kinds of things, but I've never seen one.
Dwarf stalk and
there's a
dwarf
perfect
rootstock.
street tree. It's about
It's plastic.
that high,
Yeah.
and it's got cement over the top of it.
Yeah.
And
You're out of order. Commissioner Neely.
Yeah, I guess one thing to maybe explore, are there different kinds of materials that we could use for sidewalks? Concrete at one point or another can be unforgiving. And whether there's material that will give a little bit and add length of life to the sidewalk that concrete doesn't.
Check about recycled tires.
Yeah, what are we talking about?
As long as you don't set them on fire.
There's some things you can do that can help. And again, we have made some changes. I mean, Castleberry Loop, where you're finding most of this issue, the sidewalk strip is roughly 2.4 feet. Our minimum requirement now is 5 feet. You can look at developing of tree wells in which you're planting trees in. I've seen that in lots of different places. Again, I've never found the perfect tree because, there's a maintenance issue, as Commissioner Mabee was talking about. I mean, there's just a host of issues that come into what happens here. So,
Well, I think that this brief discussion has shown that there is a wide range of options and issues to talk about. Commissioner West.
Yeah, and I wanted to add, too, that especially in Portland and southeast side, the popularity of perennials and rocks and different landscaping materials in the median, I think that's a new trend, and I didn't know that.
You know, on the sidewalk or the median?
In the parking strip. So we're talking about planting material in the parking strip, and I think it's worth a conversation. Even I was considering some of those, like 4-foot New Zealand flaxes. Better take that out. And I had no idea with, sight distance and what. I'm just copying on Southeast Portland.
we're not Southeast Portland. They're our suburb. They
I know, but
copy
in
us.
in the old neighborhoods, though, or with older homes, it's often very popular to do perennial gardens in the planting strip. So.
Yeah, just
Well,
been-
we've got a lot of very nice rose bushes in some of our strips that are well maintained. But
we do have a variety. Okay, we'll
I'll
postpone
move-
this discussion for later and
I would
move.
move for the acceptance of the petition from residents of Castleberry Loop regarding the street trees.
I'll second.
Moved by Commissioner Neely, seconded by Commissioner Mabee, to accept the petition from the residents. There further discussion? Nancy, the vote, please.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Mabee,
Aye.
Commissioner Neely,
Aye.
Mayor Norris.
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Next, we have the second reading of an ordinance that is 8-1018, amending Title 10, Chapter 10.04 and 10.08, the Abandoned Vehicle Code and Parking Standards of the Oregon City Municipal Code of 1991. Is there further additions to this cleanup ordinance? Then, Mr. Sullivan, for the second reading.
I'd like to make a motion for
Please.
second reading and final adoption of ordinance number 08-1018, amending Title 10.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Mabee, seconded by Commissioner Neely. Now, Mr. Sullivan.
This is ordinance number 08-1018, an ordinance amending Title 10, Vehicles and Traffic, Chapter 10.04, Abandoned Vehicles, and Chapter 10.08, Parking, Standing, and Stopping of the Oregon City Municipal Code of 1991.
Thank you. Nancy, the vote, please.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Maybe?
Aye.
Commissioner Neely?
Aye.
Mayor Norris?
Aye, motion passes 4-0. Next, we have the consent agenda. May I have a motion for adoption, please, minus item C.
I move approval minus item C.
Second?
Moved by Commissioner West, second by Commissioner Maybe on the consent agenda. Nancy, the vote, please.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Maybe?
Aye.
Commissioner Neely?
Aye.
Mayor Norris?
Aye, motion passes 4-0.
You wanted to take item D, didn't you?
No.
C? Okay.
Now we have the election results for November the 4th, and Commissioner Maybe had asked that to be pulled. Commissioner Maybe.
Yes, first, I don't want to certify the results. I lost.
You're going to vote no?
But, well, and I kind of was curious, what happens if we don't certify the results? I mean, no, I mean, this is just...
You still lose.
Well,
That's right.
if every time we say no, do we take 100? No, I'm just curious. I mean, what is the mechanism if, for some reason, the city,
Someone can mandamus you.
which means,
Means they could force you to do it anyway, even if you don't want to.
okay, fair enough. Then the other thing I wanted to say was, I just kind of wanted to address the public in general. The annexations basically got 2,000 more votes than the commissioner votes did. That means 2,000 of you cared more about the annexations than about the people who put the annexations on the ballots. And as one of the candidates kept saying, the commission can conceivably continue to put forth the same annexations ad nauseum, much like his petition to put things in our charter, he maintains ad nauseum. But so choosing who the commissioners are should, I would think, be at least as important as the annexations. And in fact, the true winners of both of the elections for commissioner were none of the above by hundreds of votes. So if you're not going to choose who your leaders are, you cannot be upset about the decisions your leaders make. It's just, you got to suck it up if you don't participate in democracy. So that's my general comments.
And is that a motion as well?
I think Commissioner Neely had something to say, but I'll make a motion.
Commissioner
I
Neely.
can do it after the motion is made. Well, there's a couple of things I wanted to mention. First of all, the alternative of them rejecting annexations as opposed to perhaps recalling us as a whole commission is probably a little bit preferable. But in any case, I would point out, just for the record, one of these annexations was not supported by the whole of the commission. You and I, in fact, voted against one of these annexations going to the ballot. So there is some dialogue that occurs here and some evaluation of things that occurs here, and I thought that was worth pointing out.
And I'd also think it's interesting that Precinct 5 approved all of the annexations, which is the only precinct in the community that did. So, with that, may I have a motion, please?
Move adoption of. Move adoption and accept the approval of the votes for City Commissioner positions 2 and 3 and annexations of measures 331, 332, and 333.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Maybe, seconded by Commissioner West to approve the canvass of votes. Nancy, the vote, please.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Maybe?
I still want to say no.
Commissioner Neely?
Aye.
Mayor Norris?
Aye, motion passes 4-0. And then now that concludes our business agenda. We'll move into communications. Ms. Patterson.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the commission, I do have a few items for you this evening. The first I've put at your place is the public notice for permit application. This has to do with the dredging of the cove, and I would suggest that we might want to provide comment on that issue.
Yes, that's true.
And if there's others that you can think of that you would want to recommend they also provide comment, and I can think of at least 2 other parties, it might be good to ask them to do that as well.
Does one of them wear a badge and work outside the city limits?
That would be one, yes.
I think the city of West Lynn might participate since we are all involved in the Willamette Falls Heritage Coalition?
I think the more folks that we could think of that would support
Yeah.
this, again, because there's a good chance there will be some opposition to that, and it definitely is, I think, important as we look to that development that we maintain the code.
I don't know where we
But they're across the...
Yeah, we might get the mayor of Gladstone to also, do you want us to provide you with the names?
That'd be good.
Or do you want us to contact those people
I will
directly?
send you, if you agree with that, I can send you some suggestions. If you
For
have some
talking
others,
points
we can do that.
for the letters?
We'll do that as well.
Okay, that would
Okay.
be good. Commissioner Maybe.
I have some concern about the dredging plan itself, and I know that this is,
Touchy.
probably way too late, but the dredge material is going to basically be placed on an existing island in the middle of the Clackamas River. The existing island is the moving sandbar. And secondly, I'm concerned that what it'll do is create a hydrologic feature that will further erode the peninsula that's supposed to be our little wildlife refuge for the Cove project, because you create an island, you create backflow, you create eddies, you create diversions. The reality of it is that island shouldn't even be there. It's just how far the bar has moved down. So I don't know if it was our recommendation or theirs or who it was to, I understand you want to keep it as close to the original site because you have a smaller environmental impact, but
I think it's going on both sides, isn't it?
I'm really kind of concerned that what we're doing is creating the perfect situation to just wipe that peninsula out.
You want to address that?
Yes,
Nancy Christopher?
The way I understand it is actually we've proposed some alternatives, and the most preferable at our first discussions with the agencies was that we leave the gravel as close to the place where we dredge it as possible. Then we also proposed some alternatives where we leave the dredged material in the cove. And then another alternative is to perhaps leave some of it in the cove and then take the rest away for Clackamas County to use on future culvert mitigation projects. So what I think might be not a bad idea is to have the consultants who are working on it, at least one of them, maybe give an update at the next work session. I could see if they're available.
That'd be good.
Because they could probably speak to your specific concerns. Your concern is exactly what mine was, and actually mine was also that, it's just going to go back in the same hole we took it out of.
Yes.
But
Why would that
they
work?
believe that it's actually going to move farther out into the Willamette and not go backwards, et cetera. But
Then why don't we just put it further out in the Willamette? Done with it.
I
know, you can neither confirm nor deny the
won't.
environmental
That was not one
impact.
of our alternatives that we proposed. So, but I think it'd be great if you had a little summary.
That'd be good.
And perhaps we could invite the sheriff to that meeting as well, so they can get
We've-
although he's been involved in some of the
Yes.
project team meetings.
We've talked about it so often over the years, and this seems like a different kind of proposal than what we've talked about in the past. So it would be good to clarify
See if we
that.
can get them here.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Thank
And
you.
I would say though that if this is, the feds put their foot down and say this is it, I'd rather do this and
Than
possibly
nothing.
save a couple of lives and deal with it in 5 years. It's it's not worth the possible risk to human life to mess around with it and miss another season where they can't put their boats in the water in a timely fashion. So I'd probably just put all of our cards back on the table, but I won't be here when the vote goes, so I can say things like that.
Okay.
I need to mention to you two maintenance issues, and if what I need is just kind of your general consensus that this is okay, we can move forward, and we'll have to bring back the appropriate budgetary actions for this. The first has to do with the Sportscraft boat launch renovation. As I think all of you know, that boat launch at Sportscraft, which we own, is in need of repair and has been for quite some time. In fact, I think I can recall one of the first letters I've received on it goes back about 2 or 3 years. We're at the point now we actually are looking at Oregon Marine Board grant for that. It is a 75-25 because the total cost of the project is about $200,000, so we'll have to make up the 25%. Good news is that happens in the 09 to 11 time frame, so we can budget for that part of it. However, we need to move forth on getting the permits because, again, all the in-water work periods and all, and that's about a $20,000 piece of funding, and we'd like to go ahead and get that started if we could. So we'll need to take some budgetary action for that. The other is, you know that we've been on painting the swimming pool and the downtime it's gone through this year on the inside. And needless to say, I guess it's Murphy's Law, we have a roof leak. And it just happens to be in the area where we're doing some of that painting.
It
And
doesn't just so happen, it's because we're painting them.
Perhaps. There's also the water invasion is happening where some of the material in there we believe is asbestos, so that probably needs to be sealed up. The total cost of the roof replacement is between $180,000 to $200,000, but we're not looking at doing the whole roof at one time. We're looking at doing the piece over the sections where that leak is at, and that's about $45,000. But we think we need to go ahead and get that taken care of as well.
My preference would be, I've never known a roof patch not to create more
Yeah.
and more, and we'd
Throwing
be
money
better
away.
off fixing it and having a roof that's good for 20, 25 years until we get a more permanent pool solution. But that also is a big chunk out of our contingency, so.
Well, that's why we're trying to work these issues. I mean, we've got a number of things hitting, which I'll be chatting with you about at the work session. I think we're in pretty good shape to withstand some of this, but we have to be wise in terms of how we spend money, too, so.
You bet. Commissioner Neely.
Yes. We had an estimate of what it would cost to redo the swimming pool, and which was less than it would be to build a new one, apparently, and whether it could be done in a time frame in which a partial fix could meet that time frame. Of course, we don't know that, and with our current economic situation, that might be a long time out. So I think my tendency is to agree with you, but anyway, we won't be doing that yet in any case. I mean, no, I know,
yeah, we'll-
are you looking at approval to actually
Spend the 40.
spend the money right now, or were you going to bring that up at a different
Well,
point?
I need to bring it back, but I
We have
need
to
to
vote
go
on the
ahead. We
budget
need to get
approval.
this started. I mean, if it's something that you disagree with, or if you want to spend a little bit more time and think about it, or at least a work session so you can take a closer look at the budget, I can share that with you. But if we don't do something here, I think those costs are going to be higher because where that water's leaking in and the work we've done, we're just going to make the situation not
I
gonna
think
work
what
as
you're
well.
hearing from us is there any way to do the total roof project?
Yeah.
Well, we can look at that, and you
Yeah.
know, if,
Okay.
if you're willing to
Yes,
go
I-
that far, we'll look and see if we can do that budget-wise. If not, at least come back and get this
My
piece taken
experience
care
is the
of.
same as the gentlemen have pointed
Yeah.
out, too. Commissioner Neely.
For one thing, the materials, roof materials, have apparently dramatically changed. The material apparently that we've used up
Sure.
here on City
Has
Hall
helped.
is far superior
Yeah.
to
Right.
materials that have existed
So
before.
far, that's held pretty well.
So I think you ought to.
Okay,
ought
we'll
to
take a look at
consider it.
that. So somewhere between the 45 and 200 is what we'll be chatting with you about, so we get this put together.
Okay.
Also, too, I just want to mention to you that unless you have any objections, we're looking at raising the RV park space rates to $20 to $25. The current rates are 18 to 22. We're still on low range of that market, and that's one that may help a little bit with this budget too. It's one of the few profit centers we have.
25, did you say? Are you raising?
20 to 25, depending on
Okay.
the night.
And what is it now, 18?
18 to
22.
22. 18 and 22, I should say.
Do we have comparables? I know we're about one of the few, maybe the only one in the
did.
metro area. I don't know.
I thought you did that
We did
one
have
time.
comparables, yeah.
We actually, it's working. We talked with the commission about this last year at a study session before we implemented the fees were actually lower than they even are now until January 1st of this year. We bumped them up, and we talked with you about doing a 2-year phase-in. So this is the second of that 2 years where we did some comparables. We looked at other sites, and so this is bringing it up to the $20 and the $25. The higher fee is the riverfront sites, the ones that actually face the river, so, or front the river, so.
Well, I've got a bad memory, but those comparables are from where?
Just a variety of RV parks. There are very few in the metro area, so mostly what we're looking at
That's
is,
actually my point.
yeah, we're kind of unique.
You were kind of unique, and I would think that would bring a premium, frankly. To have an RV spot along a river in the metro area.
Where you
I'm
can
not
tie up
sure.
a boat.
It would. I think you get, in long term, we'll be chatting about that. I think there's some improvements we'll want to do to that, and then at that point, we will want to talk about maybe raising these fees more significantly in this, but I think we need to provide some more amenities down there before we get to that point.
That's right.
I ran into a couple recently at an event who are from way out of state. They come to visit relatives here, and they said they travel by RV 6 months of the year. They've never been in a place that has the amazing amenities, or the location that this one does, not the amenities, but the riverfront, like Doug said, and the fact that it's urban. Really fine urban RV transient locations. Commissioner Mabee.
Yeah, so I recall when we did talk about it a couple years ago, there was also some discussion about getting things like we're not in the Good Sam book and that sort of stuff. I know that part of the discussion was that my anecdotal references, i.e. my father, who's been in the RV industry for 30 years and travels, said we should be charging 2 years ago, should have been like 25 and 30. So, yeah, if we could get it, we should. I mean, the fact of the matter is there's $30 a night is still cheaper than any hotel and better views than you'll get in most, except for our hotel. And it's, the fact that it has a dumping station. You said that alone is like a $5 premium on top of anything else. There's a lot of places where you can park, but they don't have any way to dump. So, I personally, I'd recommend let's take it to the next tier. And I don't think we're going to scare away enough anybody with that extra $5.
I would be interested in revisiting this in a fairly short time frame, 6 months or so.
Final thing I just want to mention to you is I think all of you probably are aware, if you go down to John Storm Park, that the restrooms have been locked. I think staff and I both find that really an unacceptable situation. Chief Conrad is going to be increasing some patrols down there, as well as we're looking at the possibility of putting in security cameras as well. I mean, there's really no need to go accept money and build restrooms if we have to lock them up, so we want to make sure we can keep those open, and we'll get a little bit more hard-nosed with folks who continue to make the messes down there. So
You mean you're not going to let the vandals take over the city?
we're going to try not to do that.
I'm going to
Commissioner Neely?
Yeah, I'm going to come back to the former point, if I may. You talk about revisiting in 6 months. I think we ought to make a decision as to...
Before the summer.
Yeah, before the summer.
Before spring break. That's
Go
the
for it
season
fishing.
starts at
Okay.
spring break.
Yeah, I guess what I would recommend, I'd like to see either your criteria and reasons for the fact that we should leave it at this level, or a reason for raising it.
We had, if I could just, we had planned on taking these fees up at the beginning of the calendar year, and we work on our fiscal year and then our calendar year stuff.
Right.
So we were hoping to implement these fees. I would think we could.
Right now?
We have, the commission can certainly direct us to raise those fees at any point you see fit, and maybe we could look at a summer raise again if we wanted to do that. But the justification really was, and Mr. Patterson was hitting on that, was that until we do a little bit of work at the park, it's not comparable to what you have, which is typically more manicured sites where you're charging, the $30 a spot or whatever it is, like a state park site. They're quite a bit more manicured, and so we were trying to find, basically between the last 2 years, this represents probably a 20 to 25% increase. So it's a pretty good sized jump percentage-wise, but I guess we're looking to see if the commission's okay with us doing this on January 1st, at least as a starter, and then if we want to look at still going up.
Yeah, I don't think you're hearing any objections to that. I think it's maybe revisit for the summer season.
We'll bring that back for the season. Madam Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any reports from commissioners? I just had one thing. I know that at our last meeting, we recognized the Oregon City Construction Corps, and I see that we also, one of our staff members received an award through the National Recreation and Parks Association. Is that what NERPA is? It was Denise Kai who received, she was the Pacific Northwest Region Young Professional Award, and I think that she should be honored and recognized for that achievement, as should any staff member who gets it. So let's give Denise a hand. So I'm sure she's watching it web streaming. She does trail news and is, what's her exact title? She's an assistant
Parks and Recreation
Director.
She does a lot.
She does, and we're really glad
Jane of all trades.
that she was recognized. If there is no further business to come before us, we are adjourned.
Yeah, it could have been a Jacqueline.